Now, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. He's a Democrat from Rhode Island. He's a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. I imagine that committee, at least Mr. Barr will go to, since it's controlled by the Republicans, but we shall see. Senator Whitehouse, given what has happened over the last 2 weeks, and given, frankly, whatever we want to say, it feels as if the legislative branch right now has been lessened in the eye of this president. He feels as if he doesn't have to worry about it. What can you do?
Well, I think the American public is still out there, and the House still has oversight power and subpoena authority. I think on our side in the Senate, it's highly unlikely that any one of our chairmen would want to cross President Trump and probably not even want to put any of Trump's cabinet into the line of fire or under oath in a committee hearing where they'd have to testify truthfully. So I think the Senate's not going to be a place for much action here, but the House still has a job to do, and it still has the tools to do its job. So it ain't over for these guys after all these stunts that they've pulled.
Look, if a career Justice Department official came to you and said, what do I do? I'm seeing this, but I got to protect my job. I'm worried about going to the Inspector General. I mean, it feels as if you heard our reporting from Ken Delanian, some talk of a protest, but then fear that would sort of self-identify. You'd get a scarlet letter of some sort. I mean, it's insane that I'm asking the question, but we're here. What do you do if you're at Justice?
One way to do it is just keep your head down and do your job. But if you're seeing things that are really wrong, you can do what a lot of whistleblowers did at EPA that put the skids under Scott Pruitt, who was trying to corrupt that organization. And we got rid of him based on a lot of whistleblower information that came into our committee. I think you see over under Pompeo at the State Department a lot of brewing rebellion and resentment at the way the State Department is being broken so that Trump's political work can be done by Secretary Pompeo. And here at the Justice Department, which should never be this way, we're seeing a lot of the firewalls that protect prosecutions from political influence from being completely overridden by this administration. And when it gets to the point where you're through the protections about political influence, you're through the relative independence of U.S. attorneys, and you're all the way to career staff turning in their badges because they're so offended by what they see going around them. That's a really loud alarm bell that America should attend to.
Are we at the point where we cannot trust a political appointee to be in charge of justice? Do you think we have to change the way we do this, create more of a CIA, FBI, Federal Reserve approach to appointments for Attorney General, figure out some distance from the executive branch of some sort?
Well, so far you've got the Inspector General, and they've done a pretty good job. You've got the Office of Professional Responsibility, which has not accomplished much, but it's still there and in theory mostly independent. You have the career staff who are in a position to blow the whistle on things that they think are wrong. So I'd want to let this play out a little bit further before I start suggesting other changes. You got to remember the Department of Justice has been there for decades. Mm-hmm. And since Attorney General Mitchell in the Nixon administration has by and large done a pretty good job. When Karl Rove and W. Bush started to mess with it and fire their U.S. attorneys because they weren't playing politics right, that all blew up in their face and led to Attorney General Gonzalez being fired, basically, forced to resign. So I think it's too early in the game to say that the Department of Justice can't heal thyself. But certainly the administration of Attorney General Barr is a serious problem for the ethics and the integrity of the Department of Justice.
Do you think will you believe any criminal charges that are brought against James Comey and Andrew McCabe?
You'd need to take a very, very close look because they are clearly in the realm of political targeting. And so much time has gone by since any legitimate investigation would have turned up some evidence and turned into a case. You know, there's a point where, you leave the fish on the porch a little too long and it starts to stink. And the timing, the targeting, all of that would raise real concerns about whether these are legitimate cases if they are to arise.
All right. I know that's what you think, and that's what maybe a lot of the public would think. But what if, what's there to stop them?
The integrity of the career staff, discovery by defendants in the criminal proceedings that could reveal a lot of documents that show that these were ginned up criminal prosecutions cooked up in the White House counsel's office or in the imaginations of Donald Trump, and then ultimately a judge who has supervisory authority over the attorneys who practiced before them. And it would not surprise me if some of these cases, if the worst began to come true, began to attract the supervisory role of United States federal judges when they watch things being done wrong in their courtrooms.
If you had one-on-one time with Bill Barr and he gave you some rational explanation for his behavior, could you give him the benefit of the doubt?
Not any longer. I think he should go. I don't think he can credibly lead the Department of Justice after episode after episode after episode after episode. The Flynn resentencing debacle that is going on right now. This episode with Rogers that's causing career people to abandon ship. The phony antitrust investigation they launched against the car companies that they've since had to withdraw. Over and over, you see political errands being run by the Department of Justice in the guise of enforcement, and that's just wrong. That should never happen, and the fact that
there's nothing he could do or say now
again shows that something has gone badly wrong.
Nothing he could do or say now, in your eyes, that shouldn't lead to resignation at this point?
Well, Saul had his epiphany on the road to Damascus, so maybe it's possible, but he's got a record that is at this point pretty impossible to defend in terms of him as a standard bearer for the ethics and the integrity of the Department of Justice.
Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, you always have an intriguing sense of humor. I hope our viewers appreciate it as much as I do. Senator Whitehouse, Democrat from Rhode Island, thanks very much.
Thank you.